Hi everyone, I hope you're good guys and welcome for a new video. So today I'm gonna show you how to make kind of hypnotic techno bass line. So basically last Sunday during my live stream I was kind of experimenting with bass and I found something cool and I say okay, maybe we can make a rack out of it. And as you can see here, you can use it like the same rack at three kind of different variations, more as a sustain mode, more as a glide kind of bass line, and more like a harp bass line. So yeah, just let's listen to the track and to the rack itself. That's the sustain, so it's just one note playing. And that's more like the glide one. You can hear the glide. Can play, I've made different patterns as well. According to how you like. And then you have more like obviously pretty versatile rack. Like usually I try to make the rack in a way that you can make your own and explore different kind of experimentation and stuff like that with the rack. Let's start to dig into it. So for that, usually for my bassline patch I like to use operator. So we need operator. I'm gonna keep the compressor. I'm just gonna add just a little bit of saturation for now, just for loudness purpose, you know, because otherwise it's like, okay, good. So the way I built the patch, like I said, I was kind of experimenting and I wanted first a sub. So I use the operator, but in the kind of parallel mode, and I use this one because I wanted my two first oscillator free, and then the C1 being modulated by the G1. So on A I have my sub bass, and then on B I wanted something more like a square waveform. So let's use the square digital. Alright. But what I was experimenting with is the feedback, and basically this is like the oscillator is kind of self-modulated by itself. So I don't know if you can hear, but it's kind of having a kind of pulse width kind of effect there. So it can sound subtle, but the good thing with that is when you modulate this with LFO, you can get really kind of variation. So let's activate the LFO. So here it's gonna modulate the pitch. So I don't want this one from now. I'm just gonna put 0, and you can choose destination B, and you can put Os feedback. And that way, let me put in sync, and I'm gonna choose. Here now modulating. Let me bring this a little bit back. And so then I say, okay, let's add another oscillator and let's have another square waveform, but this time you cannot modulate by itself, because you can see here it's modulated by another oscillator. So here what I've done, I've kind of start to apply some FM modulation by bringing up this volume. I'm gonna deactivate the two other. and I bring the course up. So yeah, it's quite subtle. But I didn't want it something too pronounced, and like this you can experiment and bring the level up later and use with the course, and you will get this kind of weird kind of bass sound. But for now, for the rack, I want it to stay classic and be a bit more gentle with. So that's our slower. So this is the rate as well. One advice is depending of the length of your loop as well, but I will come back to this later. Alright, so we need to add more variation with the LFO, but we're just gonna go to the filter and I'm gonna change to the MS-20, add a bit of a drive, not too much, a bit of resonance. That is mainly for when you sweep. And then we're gonna come back to LFO, and now I'm gonna apply it gently. Can you hear the subtle? So you still got the feedback modulating, but you've got as well a little bit. You can hear. Alright, so that's kind of subtle as well, but that's what gives a bit of character to your bass. Because if I remove the LFO, it's straight away add a bit more movement. So now that we have our main ID patch, I'm just gonna group it and to show you how I made the rack. So obviously I'm gonna be modulating the filter. So I need to apply this to macro 1 to have it there. And another thing which is interesting, it's to be able to add some filter envelope. So that you will hear better when there will be the delay and reverb, but you can already hear it here and it's nice. I like as well to sometimes don't always open just the filter, but I always play with the filter envelope. It's get more attack, let's say, to the sound instead of opening the filter. You see, you get a kind of pluckier sound. And one thing I haven't talked, but there is glide as well that so this as well, I'm gonna apply to macro 6, and I'm gonna make this as well the switch on off. And when you put 1 here, like this, when the macro is at 0, it is activated, and when the macro is from 1, it's activating. And little tips for the glide, in case you miss my wavetable techno tips. Usually, I like to do like this, like to make a multiple of 30 milliseconds. Like for example, put either 60 or 120, 240 or 480, and usually it's kind of having a nice it usually works well, better than if you try randomly to find a value. Just follow this one and you might find something you like. Okay, so let's add first. I think I've done this. I'm gonna put it there. I've added, because sometimes you might wanna have if you wanna use the rack more as like a synth bass line, like basically it's kind of still a bass sound, but it's like between the bass and the synth sound, and you don't want the low frequency. So I have high pass filter there, and here is the same. I apply the toggle on off to the rack as well. This way it's only activated when I start to, you see, no filter, and then activating. All right, so this is high pass filter and glide. Okay, and then what I've done is I add a little bit of boost around 3 kHz. And then I was in the mood to add some tube distortion. Lately I've been using it more than usual. So I'm just gonna put this here. This, remember, is just to make some loudness. I will probably just reduce later. So dynamic tube. This you just have to try to see what's work well or not. Just gonna reduce this now. So obviously you can hear the subtle effect of the synth, but with the effect you will hear them even more. So a bit of tone. A bit of bias, and I'm gonna. So this, it's up to you if you want top distortion or not. It's kind of having a bit of grit on top. You might not like it. You can still remove it as well. Alright, and then the next thing that I added, I wanted things loud, and I use my fat set rack, which is basically, in a nutshell, I will put the link in the description if you want to find out more about that. It's just some heavy multiband compression and saturator, so exactly the same things that I've done here, just to add harmonics, and this bright key device, which is a resonator that I'm using to kind of bring extra high frequency. And then you have the drum bus here, but it's for this macro. I'm not gonna use it. So it's just making things louder, obviously. But yeah, still then after, I found was like kind of missing something, so it was not like bright enough, so I had another one. Just to make things a bit brighter. And I had another saturator, so I know it's a lot of process. It's what it takes to have like some beefy sound. And then I just add some effects, so some delay, basic ping pong delay. Where is it? Delay here. Just put 1, 3. Feedback, I left it like this. Put like, and then the filter just to maybe a little bit less feedback, and sorry. And then finally some reverb. So now you can start to hear so now you can start to hear better the modulation and this kind of slow and hypnotic kind of movement that you can give with the LFO. So one thing I wanted to do as well to accentuate the high frequency is I use another EQ, and I took this little bell like this, but I assigned the frequency at the same macro than the filter. This way, when I'm sweeping, let me bring this. You're gonna see when I'm sweeping the filter of the operator, it's sweeping as well the filter of the EQ. So you're gonna understand. Now I've attached both. You can see it's following, and it's even accentuating the effect. So maybe 5 dB is a bit too much, but so you can tell me, oh, but why you didn't crank up the resonance of the filter? But the resonance of the filter was kind of, obviously when you sweep after, it's kind of a different tone than just with an EQ. Here was just to really accentuate and kind of bring a little bit more mid-high frequency. So obviously I haven't said, but you can experiment with the rate. And yeah, let's finish the racke, because basically I haven't finished to assign all the macros. So I have the delay and the reverb assigned to macro 8 that I rename FX. And obviously the LFO, I forgot to say, but I put in the macro to have the knob straight away here. So LFO rate, oh sorry, I need to put LFO rate and LFO amount. And that's the last one, so it's the ARP. I basically just put an arpeggiator, and if you crank up a little bit the envelope, so by default I put in 16. It's like, you can obviously, that's savage. You can, what I've done, I've mapped the kind of ARP, and I mapped the on-off button. So this way, same, when it's at the minimum, the ARP is deactivated, and then after. So here is just one note, I'm just pressing one note on the push, so. But if I play 2, yeah, something like this. One thing I've done as well, I applied this retrig button to the ARP as well, to this macro, because so it's working that way. When the ARP is deactivating, is the other way around. Up, you have to put 0, 1, and this way, when the ARP is deactivated, the retrig is on. But then, as far as the ARP is activated, I remove the retrig button because otherwise, because obviously it's an ARP, it's an arpeggiator, so the notes are playing fast. So that means like the LFO is gonna be retrig at each note, and it doesn't will have time to modulate and to give this kind of hypnotic effect. And obviously, if I you see, it's very static, it doesn't move. So that's one thing I've done as well. And yeah, the reason why I've assigned FX as well is because obviously it's, so I'm gonna, it's because if you put everything at the maximum, you can maybe now use the racke more as like a pad or as a texture kind of thing, being in the background. You see, because it put the dry rate of the delay and the reverb at the 100%, and you just crank up the decay time. And if you even want to go further, you can even add autopan and kind of and that's what I've done here on the pad one. And obviously, you can even go further, use LFO to modulate the filter. You can maybe even use LFO to modulate the rate or the LFO amount, obviously. I mean, then after it's up to you and your creativity and pushing things forward to make things different. And yeah, that's pretty much the rack how I've done it. So yeah, that's how if you want to find out how to write bassline, I will put the link in the description. I made a video about it, how to place the note and to have this kind of stuff with play with the glide, and you can play with the velocity as well. You can play with the swing, the groove pull. But yeah. But yeah, you can see this one. This one and this one are both the same MIDI pattern, but with a different glide. Obviously, it kind of gives different kind of groove, so you can experiment with that as well. Usually with this one, with the glide one, I don't go too much because after, you know, it's sounding too much like a sand. But yeah, changing the rate for different kind of groove. And yeah, I think I've shown you more or less everything. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you like it and see you soon, guys. Bye bye. Thank you.